Maya-chun pushed through the glass door of Luna's cafe and breathed in the familiar scent of roasted coffee beans mixed with sweet pastries. The small cafe sat on the edge of New Geneva Colony, far from the busy downtown area where most humans preferred to spend their time. Maya liked it here because Luna welcomed everyone. No matter what planet they came from or what they looked like, she made her way to her usual corner booth, counting steps and using the sound of her footsteps to guide her. Maya had been blind since birth, but her other senses had grown strong to make up for what she could not see. She could tell by the way footsteps sounded whether someone was human, Altarian, or one of the big vegan traders who sometimes stopped by on their way to other worlds. Maya settled into her seat and pulled out her voice recorder. She was working on her thesis about how different species communicated their feelings to each other. Most people thought it was boring work, but Maya found it fascinating. She believed that all thinking beings had similar needs, even if they looked nothing like humans. The cafe was busier than usual today. Maya heard the soft clicking sounds that meant an Altarian was ordering at the counter, and the low humming noise that vegan traders made when they were happy. She smiled and started her recorder, making notes about the different sounds around her. Then she heard something new. Heavy footsteps moved across the cafe floor, slow and careful. The steps were too heavy for a human and too regular for most aliens, she knew. When the newcomer spoke to Luna behind the counter, his voice was deep and seemed to come from somewhere much higher than a normal person's mouth. "I would like to order coffee," the stranger said. His words were correct, but his accent was thick, like he was not used to speaking the common language. Maya heard Luna trying to explain the menu, but the stranger seemed confused. He asked the same questions over and over, and Maya could hear frustration growing in his voice. There was something else, too, something that made Maya's heart feel heavy. The stranger sounded lonely, so lonely that it seemed to fill the whole cafe. Without thinking, Maya stood up and walked toward the counter. She was good at moving around the cafe because she came here 3 times a week. "Excuse me," she said to the stranger. "I heard you having trouble with the menu. Would you like some help?" The stranger went quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You would help me? But you do not know me." "That's okay," Maya said with a smile. "I'm Maya. I come here all the time." "What kind of flavors do you like?" "I am called Kane," the stranger said. His voice was still deep, but now it sounded surprised. "I do not know what I like. I have not had many chances to try different things." Maya felt sad when she heard this. She could not imagine never having chances to try new things. "Well, let's start with something simple. Do you like sweet things? Or bitter things?" "I think I prefer things that are not too sweet," Kane said. "Then you should try the dark roast with a little bit of cream," Maya said. "And Luna makes wonderful cinnamon rolls. They're sweet but not too sweet." Luna smiled and started making the order. Maya heard Kane moving and she realized he was very tall. When he breathed, it sounded different from humans, deeper and slower. "Thank you for helping me," Kane said. "Not many people would take time to help a stranger." "Why not?" Maya asked. "We're all just trying to get through our days. A little kindness makes everything easier." Kane was quiet again. Then he said, "May I ask why you cannot see?" "I notice you do not look at things the way others do." Maya was not offended. Most people were curious but afraid to ask. "I was born blind," she said. "But I can hear and smell and feel things really well. Sometimes I think I notice things that people who can see miss." "What do you notice about?" "Me?" Kane asked. Did Maya thought about this? "You're very tall, maybe 7 feet or more. You're not human, but you're trying to seem human. Your voice sounds like you're carrying something heavy, not in your hands, but in your heart. And you're lonely, so lonely that it makes the air around you feel sad." Kane made a sound like he was choking. "You can tell all of that just from listening." "To me, people's voices tell stories," Maya said. "I study how different species show their feelings. It's my job to listen." Luna brought Kane his coffee and cinnamon roll. Maya heard him take a careful sip, then make a small sound of pleasure. "This is very good," he said. "Thank you." "You're welcome," Maya said. "Would you like to sit down?" I was just working on some research, but I'd enjoy the company. Kane followed Maya to her booth. She heard him settling into the seat across from her, and she could tell he was being very careful not to make too much noise. "What kind of research do you do?" he asked. "I study how different species communicate emotions," Maya said. "Like how humans smile when they're happy, but Altarians click their tongues and vegan traders hum. I think if we understood each other better, there would be less fighting in the galaxy." That sounds like important work," Kane said, and Maya could hear that he really meant it. "Do you think it's possible for different species to truly understand each other?" "I have to believe it is," Maya said. "Otherwise, what's the point of trying to talk to each other at all?" They talked for 2 hours. Kane told Maya about his travels to different worlds, though he was careful not to give too many details. Maya told him about her research and her dream of opening a center where different species could learn to communicate better. When Kane finally said he had to leave, Maya felt disappointed. She had enjoyed talking to him more than she had enjoyed talking to anyone in a long time. "Will you come back?" she asked. Kane stood up, and Maya heard him hesitate by the table. "Would you want me to come back?" he asked. "Of course," Maya said. "I come here every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. You're welcome to join me any time." "Then I will see you Thursday," Kane said. "Thank you, Maya. You have given me something I did not know I needed." After he left, Maya sat in her booth for a long time, thinking about the strange encounter. There was something about Kane that did not quite fit together. His story about being a traveler did not explain why he seemed so unfamiliar with simple things like ordering coffee. And there was something about his loneliness that seemed bigger than just being far from home. But Maya had learned to trust her instincts about people. Whatever Kane was hiding, she did not think he was dangerous. Lonely, yes, sad, definitely, but not dangerous. And everyone deserved to have at least one friend who would listen to them without judging. Maya packed up her recorder and headed home, already looking forward to Thursday. Thursday came, and Maya arrived at Luna's Café early, feeling excited in a way she had not felt in months. She ordered her usual coffee and sat in the corner booth, listening for the sound of heavy footsteps that would mean Kane had kept his promise. When the footsteps finally came, Maya smiled. She heard Kane order the same thing as before, dark coffee with cream and a cinnamon roll. This time he did not need help with the menu, and Maya could hear that Luna was pleased to see him again. "You came back?" Maya said when Kane sat down. Across from her, "I said I would," Kane replied. "I have been thinking about our conversation. You said you study how different species show emotions. I would like to know more about this." Maya felt her heart warm. Most people thought her work was boring, but Kane seemed genuinely interested. "Well, it's really about understanding that we all have the same basic needs, even if we express them differently. Every thinking being wants to be understood, to belong somewhere, to feel safe." "Even beings who seem very different from humans?" Kane asked. "Especially beings who seem very different," Maya said. "Sometimes the ones who look scary or act strange are just trying to protect themselves because they've been hurt before." Kane was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "What if someone has hurt others? What if they thought they were doing good, but they caused pain instead?" Maya heard something in his voice that made her reach across the table. Her hand found his, and she was surprised by how warm and rough his skin felt. "Everyone makes mistakes," she said. "The important thing is learning from them and trying to do better." "But what if the mistakes were very big?" Kane asked. "What if they hurt many people?" "Then that person would need to work very hard to make things right," Maya said. "But I believe anyone can change if they truly want to. People aren't born good or bad. They become what they choose to become." Kane's hand trembled slightly under hers. "You have great faith in people." "I have to," Maya said. "If I didn't believe people could change and grow, then my work would be pointless. Besides, I can hear it in your voice. You're not a bad person. Kane, you're just someone who's been carrying heavy burdens for too long." They met every Tuesday and Thursday after that. Maya learned that Kane had traveled to many worlds and seen many different kinds of people. He spoke about places she had only read about in books, distant planets with strange animals and beautiful landscapes. "Tell me about the ice world you visited," Maya said one afternoon. "What did it smell like?" Kane thought for a moment. It smelled clean and sharp like the air after a storm, but also lonely. There were not many people there, and they stayed in their warm houses most of the time. I think they were afraid of outsiders. "Were you there for work?" Maya asked. "Yes," Kane said carefully. "I was part of a group that was trying to help them organize their government better." Maya noticed that Kane often spoke about his work in vague terms. He talked about helping worlds and organizing governments, but he never gave specific details. She also noticed that he seemed to know a lot about military tactics and space travel, more than most researchers would. "Kane," Maya said one day, "what exactly do you do for work?" Kane went very still. "I work in interplanetary relations," he said finally. "I help different worlds communicate with each other." "That sounds like important work," Maya said. "It must be hard, being away from home so much." "I do not really have a home," Kane said quietly. "I have not had a home for a very long time." Maya felt her heart break a little. She could not imagine not having a home to return to. "Where did you grow up?" "Very far from here," Kane said. "On a world where things were different, harsher. I left when I was young, and I have been traveling ever since." Maya wanted to ask more questions, but she could hear the pain in Kane's voice. Instead, she told him about her own childhood, about growing up on New Geneva and learning to navigate the world without sight. "My parents were worried about me at first," she said. "They thought I would not be able to have a normal life. But I proved them wrong. I went to university, got my degree, and now I'm working on my thesis. Being blind doesn't make me less capable, just different." "You are remarkable," Kane said. "You see more clearly than most people who have eyes." "Maybe. That's because I don't get distracted by how things look," Maya said. "I have to focus on what really matters." As the weeks passed, Maya began to notice changes in Kane. He laughed more often, and his voice had lost some of its sadness. He asked her many questions about her research, especially about conflict resolution between different species. "Do you think it's possible to fix a relationship after trust has been broken?" Kane asked one day. "It's hard," Maya said. "But if both sides are willing to work at it, yes. The person who broke the trust has to prove they've changed, and the person who was hurt has to be willing to give them a chance." "What if the person who broke the trust was in a position of power?" Kane asked. "What if they used that power in the wrong way?" Maya considered this. Then they would need to give up some of that power to prove they were serious about changing. And they would need to listen to the people they hurt, really listen, not just pretend to. Kane nodded slowly. "You make it sound simple." "Simple doesn't mean easy," Maya said. "The hardest thing in the galaxy is admitting you were wrong, especially when you thought you were right." One Thursday, Kane seemed more distracted than usual. He kept checking something in his pocket, and Maya could hear tension in his voice. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "There are some things happening with my work," Kane said. "I may need to leave soon." Maya felt a cold fear in her stomach. "How soon?" "Perhaps next week," Kane said. "There is a situation that requires my attention. Will you come back?" Maya asked. Kane was quiet for a long time. "I do not know," he said finally. "I hope so, but things may change in ways I cannot control." Maya reached across the table and found his hand again. "Whatever happens, I want you to know that these conversations have meant a lot to me. You've helped me understand my own research better." "You have helped me more than you know," Kane said. "You have shown me possibilities I never considered before." That night, Maya lay in bed thinking about Kane's words. There was something about the way he spoke about his work that worried her. He talked about situations and decisions like he was someone important, someone with real authority. But he also talked about them like they were burdens he did not want to carry. Maya had learned to trust her instincts about people, and her instincts told her that Kane was not just any traveler. He was someone with power, someone who made decisions that affected other people's lives. The question was whether he was using that power for good or for harm, based on their conversations. Maya believed Kane was a good person at heart. But she also knew that good people could sometimes do bad things when they were afraid or confused or carrying too much responsibility alone. Whatever Kane was hiding, Maya hoped he would trust her enough to tell her the truth, because she had a feeling that the situation he was dealing with was bigger than anything she had imagined, and that her friend might need help more than he was willing to admit. Maya sat in her usual booth at Luna's Café, but the chair across from her had been empty for 3 days. Kane had not come on Tuesday, and now it was Thursday afternoon and still no sign of him. She tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept wandering to their last conversation and the worry she had heard in his voice. When the heavy footsteps finally came, Maya felt relief wash over her. But as soon as Kane sat down, she knew something was terribly wrong. His breathing was uneven, and she could hear tension in every word he spoke. "I'm sorry I missed Tuesday," Kane said. "There have been complications with my work." "What kind of complications?" Maya asked gently. Kane was quiet for a long moment. "Maya, do you believe that someone can do terrible things while believing they are doing good?" Maya set down her coffee cup. "Yes, I think that happens more often than we'd like to admit. People make decisions based on what they think is right, but sometimes they don't have all the information or they're too afraid to see other possibilities." "What if someone had great power and used it to control others?" Kane asked. "What if they told themselves it was for the greater good, but really they were just afraid of chaos?" "That sounds like someone who needs to step back and really examine their actions," Maya said. "How power can be like a drug. It makes people think they know what's best for everyone else." Kane's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "What if that person realized they had been wrong? What if they wanted to change but didn't know how?" Maya reached across the table, searching for his hand. When she found it, she squeezed gently. "Then they would need to start by admitting the truth, first to themselves and then to the people they hurt. And they would need to be willing to give up some of that power to prove they were serious about changing, even if it meant losing everything they had built." Kane asked. "If what they built was wrong, then yes," Maya said. "Sometimes you have to tear down the old foundation before you can build something better." Kane pulled his hand away from hers. "You speak as if it is simple, but some decisions affect millions of lives. Some mistakes cannot be undone." "No, they can't," Maya agreed. "But that doesn't mean you stop trying to do better. The people who are hurt deserve to see that you're working to make things right, even if you can never fully repair the damage." Maya heard Kane stand up abruptly. "I need to go," he said. "There are things I must attend to." "Kane, wait," Maya said. "Whatever you're dealing with, you don't have to face it alone. Sometimes talking through problems with a friend can help. You see solutions you missed before." "You do not understand," Kane said. "The situation is more complicated than you know." "Then explain it to me," Maya said. "I'm a good listener, and I don't judge people based on their past mistakes. I care about who they choose to be going forward." Kane sat back down heavily. "There is someone I know," he said slowly, "someone in a position of great authority. For many years, this person believed they were bringing order to a chaotic galaxy. They conquered worlds and imposed their will on others, always telling themselves it was necessary." Maya listened carefully. She could hear that Kane was talking about something very personal, even though he was speaking as if it were about someone else. "This person had great power," Kane continued. "They commanded vast fleets and controlled many worlds. But they were alone, always alone. They had soldiers who obeyed them and officials who feared them, but no one who truly knew them. And that sounds like a very lonely way to live," Maya said. "It was," Kane said. "And loneliness can make people do terrible things. They stop seeing other beings as individuals and start seeing them as problems to be solved or obstacles to be removed." But you said this person realized they were wrong," Maya said. "What changed?" Kane's voice became very soft. "They met someone who showed them a different way of seeing the world. Someone who believed that understanding was more powerful than force, that connection was more valuable than control. Maya felt her heart start to beat faster. Kane, are you talking about yourself? The silence stretched between them for a long time. Finally, Kane said, yes. Maya took a deep breath. Tell me the truth, all of it. I am not human, Kane said. I am what your people call a dragon. I am 12 feet tall with scales like black glass and wings that span 30 feet. I have been using a device to make myself appear human so that I could walk among you without causing panic. Maya nodded slowly. I suspected you weren't human. Your voice, your movements, even the way you breathe is different. What else? I am Lord Kane Drakmore, he said. Supreme Commander of the Obsidian Fleet, I have conquered 17 star systems and brought them under my rule. I came to this world to oversee its surrender to my empire. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. New Geneva is going to surrender to you? It was supposed to happen 3 days ago, Kane said, but I could not go through with it. Your words kept echoing in my mind about understanding and connection and the possibility of change. I realized that my empire was built on fear, not respect. So what happens now? Maya asked quietly. I do not know, Kane said. My officers are growing impatient. They expect me to complete the conquest, but I cannot bring myself to destroy the place where I learned what friendship truly means. Maya was quiet for a long time, processing everything Kane had told her. Why did you tell me? She asked finally. Because I could not bear to lie to you anymore, Kane said. You have shown me more genuine kindness than anyone in my long life. I wanted you to know who I really am, even if it means you will hate me now. I don't hate you, Maya said. I'm sad that you felt you had to hide from me, and I'm scared about what might happen to my world, but I don't hate you. How can you not hate me? Kane asked. I am a conqueror. I have brought suffering to countless worlds. Because the person I've been talking to for weeks isn't a conqueror, Maya said. He's someone who's been carrying a terrible burden alone for too long. He's someone who's been so focused on preventing chaos that he forgot to ask whether his version of order was what people actually wanted. You said that if someone in power realized they were wrong, they would need to give up some of that power to prove they were serious about changing, Kane said. What if they gave up all of it? That would be a start, Maya said. But it would also be dangerous. If you just walked away from your empire, what would happen to all those worlds you control? Would your officers take over? Would there be wars? I had not considered that, Kane admitted. I was so focused on my own guilt that I did not think about the consequences of simply disappearing. Then maybe the answer isn't to give up all your power at once, Maya said. Maybe it's to use that power differently. Instead of ruling through fear, could you lead through cooperation? I do not know if that is possible, Kane said. My empire is built on military might. I do not know how to rule any other way. Then learn, Maya said. You've already taken the first step by questioning your methods. Now you need to figure out how to change them. Would you help me? Kane asked quietly. I know I have no right to ask, but I do not think I can do this alone. Mayo reached across the table and found his hand again. Of course I'll help you, but we need to be careful. Change like this has to happen slowly, or it will create more chaos than it prevents. My officers will not wait much longer, Kane said. They expect me to complete the conquest of New Geneva within the week. Then we need to move fast, Maya said. But we also need to be smart about this. What you're proposing isn't just changing your empire, it's changing the entire political structure of this part of the galaxy. I know, Kane said, but I cannot go back to the way things were. These conversations with you have changed me too much. I cannot unsee what I have learned. Maya squeezed his hand. Then we'll figure out a way forward together. But first you need to show me who you really are. I want to meet the real Kane, not the disguise. Are you certain? Kane asked. My true form is quite frightening. I'm not afraid, Maya said. I told you before, I don't judge people by how they look. I care about who they choose to be. Kane stood up and moved to the back corner of the cafe where they would have more privacy. Maya heard a soft humming sound, and then Kane's voice spoke from much higher above her. "This is who I am," he said. Maya reached up and felt warm scales and powerful muscles. "Hello, Kane," she said with a smile. "It's nice to finally meet the real you." Maya sat across from Kane in his true form, and for the first time in their friendship, she could truly sense the full weight of who he was. His breathing was deeper, his movements more careful, and she could feel the heat radiating from his scaled body. But what struck her most was that he still sounded like her friend, just more honest now. "I have been thinking about what you said," Kane told her. "About using power differently instead of giving it up completely. But I do not know where to begin." "Start with New Geneva," Maya said. "Instead of conquering us, what if you offered? Use a partnership? What if you showed other worlds that there's a different way to do things?" Kane shifted in his seat. "My officers would never understand. They have followed me for centuries, believing that strength comes from domination. They would see cooperation as weakness. Then you need to show them that cooperation can be even stronger than domination," Maya said. "But you're right that they won't understand at first. Change is scary, especially for people who have built their whole identity around one way of doing things." "There is another problem," Kane said. "My empire controls many worlds, but I am not the only Dragon Lord in the galaxy. There are others who lead their own fleets. If I show weakness, they may attack the worlds I am supposed to protect." Maya frowned. "So you're trapped. If you keep ruling the old way, you perpetuate suffering. But if you change too quickly, you create chaos and possibly war." "Exactly," Kane said. "This is why I have been paralyzed with indecision. Every path forward seems to lead to more pain." Maya was quiet for a moment, thinking, what if we don't try to change everything at once? What if we start with just one world and use it as an example? "You mean New Geneva?" Kane asked. "Yes, instead of conquering us, what if you made a treaty with us? A real partnership where both sides benefit. If it works, you could try the same thing with other worlds." Kane leaned forward. "What kind of partnership?" "Well, you have military strength and advanced technology," Maya said. "We have resources and knowledge about this sector of space. Instead of taking what you want by force, you could trade for it. And in exchange, you could protect us from other threats." "But what about my officers? They expect conquest, not negotiation." "Then you need to frame it in a way they can understand," Maya said. "Tell them that a willing ally is more valuable than a conquered enemy. Conquered worlds always have rebellions and resistance. But true allies will fight alongside you when danger comes." Kane was quiet for a long time. "There is wisdom in what you say. But implementing such a plan would require careful preparation. I would need to speak with the leaders of New Geneva, explain my intentions, and convince them to trust me." That's not going to be easy," Maya said. "The name Kane Drakmore is known throughout human space. People are terrified of you." "I know," Kane said sadly. "I built that reputation deliberately. I thought fear would prevent wars by making resistance seem hopeless. But fear doesn't prevent wars," Maya said. "It just postpones them. Eventually, people become so desperate that they'll fight even when they know they can't win." "You are right," Kane said. "I have seen this pattern on many worlds. I told myself that the initial conquest was the only violence needed, but there were always rebels, always resistance movements that had to be crushed. So what if we tried something different?" Maya asked. "What if, instead of trying to convince people not to be afraid of you, we showed them that you can be trusted?" "How?" "By keeping your word," Maya said. "Start small. Make a promise to the people of New Geneva and then keep it. Then make another promise and keep that one too. Over time, people will start to believe that you mean what you say." Kane stood up and paced to the window of the cafe. "I have never tried to rule through trust before. I do not know if I am capable of it." "You've been practicing with me," Maya said. "Every time we talked, you had to choose between hiding behind your disguise or being honest about your thoughts and feelings. You chose honesty, and it made our Friendship stronger, but you are one person, Kane said. How can I be honest with millions of people across dozens of worlds? The same way you are honest with me, Maya said. One conversation at a time, one decision at a time, one kept promise at a time. Maya heard a soft beeping sound from Kane's direction. He made a frustrated noise and said, "My officers are requesting another meeting. They want to know why the conquest has been delayed. What will you tell them?" Maya asked. "I will tell them that I am considering a different approach," Kane said. "I will not mention you or our conversations, but I will explain that I believe we can achieve our goals more effectively through negotiation than through force." "Will they listen?" "Some of them will," Kane said. "Others will resist. And some may try to remove me from command if they think I have become weak." Maya felt a chill of fear. "Is that likely?" "It is possible," Kane said. "But I cannot let fear of my own officers prevent me from trying to do what is right." "I could help," Maya said. "I've been studying interspecies communication for years. I could help you prepare for negotiations with the new Geneva government." "You would do that?" Kane asked. "Even knowing what I have done?" "What you have done is in the past," Maya said. "What matters now is what you choose to do going forward." Kane returned to his seat. "There is something else you should know. If I succeed in changing my empire, it will not happen quickly. It could take years, maybe decades. And during that time, there will be resistance, both from my own forces and from other dragon lords who see my new methods as a threat." "Are you saying it's dangerous?" Maya asked. "I'm saying it could be very dangerous," Kane said. "Not just for me, but for anyone who helps me. If you choose to be part of this, you could become a target." Maya thought about this for a moment. "Kane, do you remember what I told you about my research? About how I believe all thinking beings have the same basic needs?" "Yes, well, one of those needs is the need to feel like your life has meaning," Maya said. "I've spent my whole life studying how to help different species understand each other. If I can help you transform a galactic empire into something based on cooperation instead of fear, then my life will have had more meaning than I ever dreamed possible." "You are not afraid?" "Of course I'm afraid," Maya said. "But I'm more afraid of what happens if we don't try. If you go back to conquering worlds and I go back to writing papers that nobody reads, then we've missed the chance to actually change things." Kane reached across the table and gently took her hand in his much larger one. "I do not deserve your friendship." "Friendship isn't about deserving," Maya said. "It's about choosing to care about someone and then acting on that choice. You've chosen to care about me, and you've chosen to question your own actions because you want to do better. That's all anyone can ask for. Then we will try," Kane said. "But we must be very careful. The first step is to arrange a meeting with the new Geneva government. They will need to see that I am serious about negotiation." "How do we do that without causing panic?" Maya asked. "I have an idea," Kane said. "But it will require trust from both sides. Are you willing to act as a mediator?" Maya smiled. "I thought you'd never ask." Over the next hour they worked out the details of their plan. Maya would contact the colonial government and explain that she had been in communication with Kane Drakmore, that he was interested in negotiation instead of conquest, and that she could arrange a meeting. "They'll think you're crazy," Kane warned. "Maybe," Maya said. "But they'll also be desperate enough to try anything if it means avoiding a war. And besides, I can be very persuasive when I need to be." As they prepared to leave the café, Maya felt a mixture of excitement and terror. She was about to become involved in something that could change the fate of worlds. But she was also about to help her friend become the person she knew he could be. "Kane," she said as they walked toward the door, "whatever happens, I want you to know that I believe in you. You have the strength to do this." "I hope you are right," Kane said, "because there is no going back from here." 3 weeks later, Maya stood in the new Geneva government building, her heart pounding as she waited for the most important meeting of her life. The Colonial Council had agreed to hear what Lord Kane Drakmore had to say, though many of them were convinced it was either a trap or a waste of time. "Are you sure about this, Maya?" asked Director Roberts, the head of the Colonial Council. This Dragon Lord could be planning to kill us all. He's not, Maya said firmly. I've spent hours talking with him. He genuinely wants to find a better way forward. But how can we trust someone who has conquered so many worlds? Asked Counselor Martinez. Because people can change, Maya said. And because the alternative is war, which none of us want. The heavy doors of the council chamber opened and Kane entered. He had chosen to appear in his true form, 12 feet tall with obsidian scales that gleamed under the chamber lights. The counselors shrank back in their seats, but Maya stepped forward to greet him. Thank you for coming, she said. Thank you for arranging this meeting, Kane replied. His deep voice filled the chamber, but Maya could hear the nervousness underneath his formal tone. Kane took his place at the center of the room and looked around at the assembled humans. I know that my reputation precedes me, he began. You know me as a conqueror, as someone who has brought suffering to many worlds. I cannot change what I have done, but I can choose what I do next. Director Roberts leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing? I propose that we end the cycle of conquest and submission, Kane said. Instead of New Geneva becoming another conquered world in my empire, I offer you a partnership. An alliance between equals. An alliance? Counselor Martinez looked skeptical. What would that look like? You would maintain your independence and self-governance, Kane said. In exchange, I would provide protection from other threats and access to advanced technology. We would trade freely and work together to solve problems that affect both our peoples. And what do you get out of this arrangement? Director Roberts asked. I get the chance to prove that cooperation is stronger than domination, Kane said. I get allies who fight alongside me because they choose to, not because they are forced to. And I get the opportunity to begin repairing the damage I have caused across the galaxy. The council members exchanged glances. Finally, Director Roberts spoke. Lord Drakmore, your offer is intriguing, but we need guarantees. How do we know? You won't change your mind and conquer us later? You have my word, Kane said, but I understand that words are not enough. I propose that we sign a formal treaty witnessed by representatives from other worlds. If I break this agreement, you will have legal recourse through the Galactic Commerce Authority. What about your officers? Counselor Martinez asked. Will they accept this new approach? Kane's expression grew serious. Some will. Others will not. There may be resistance within my own forces, but I am prepared to deal with that resistance. Over the next 4 hours, they hammered out the details of the agreement. Maya acted as a mediator, helping both sides understand each other's concerns and find compromises. When they finally reached an agreement, even the most skeptical council members seemed cautiously optimistic. There is one more thing, Kane said as they prepared to sign the treaty. I want to establish a center for interspecies communication. Here on New Geneva, Maya has developed theories about how different species can better understand each other, and I believe her work could benefit the entire galaxy. Maya felt her heart skip a beat. Kane, that's my dream project, but it would be incredibly expensive. I will provide the funding, Kane said. Consider it my first investment in our new partnership. The treaty signing ceremony took place a week later. Representatives from dozens of worlds attended, drawn by curiosity about this unprecedented event. Maya stood beside Kane as he signed the document that would transform New Geneva from a target of conquest into an ally, but the real test came 3 days later, when Admiral Voss and 6 other high-ranking officers from the Obsidian Fleet arrived demanding an explanation. Lord Drakmore, Admiral Voss said, his voice cold with disapproval, the fleet is confused by your actions. We came here to conquer this world, not to negotiate with it. I have found a better way, Kane said calmly. New Geneva is now our ally, not our subject. They will provide resources and support willingly, without the need for occupation forces or constant suppression of rebellions. This is weakness, declared Commander Nash. You are showing the galaxy that we can be negotiated with, that we can be stopped by words instead of weapons. No, Kane said. I am showing the galaxy that we are strong enough to choose peace, when it serves our interests better than war." The confrontation escalated quickly. Admiral Voss accused Kane of betraying everything the Obsidian Fleet stood for. Commander Nash went further, suggesting that Kane was no longer fit to lead. "If you wish to challenge my authority," Kane said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of command, "then do so openly. But remember that I have led this fleet to victory after victory. I have never failed you before, and I will not fail you now." The challenge came from Commander Nash, who declared that Kane had become soft and weak. By dragon law, this meant single combat to determine leadership. Maya watched in terror as the two massive dragons faced each other in the plaza, outside the government building, but Kane had learned from his conversations with Maya about the power of words over violence. Instead of immediately attacking, he spoke to the assembled crowd of his officers and the watching humans. "I am the same dragon who conquered 17 star systems," he said. "I have not become weak, I have become wise. Strength without wisdom is just destruction. True leadership means knowing when to fight and when to build." The fight was brief, but decisive. Kane's experience and skill overwhelmed Nash's anger. But when Nash lay defeated, Kane did something unprecedented. Instead of killing his challenger, he offered him a choice: leave the fleet or accept the new direction. "This is what I learned from my human friend," Kane said, looking directly at Maya. "Mercy is not weakness. It is the ultimate expression of strength." Half of Kane's officers chose to follow his new path. The other half left to form their own fleets or join other dragon lords. It was a painful split, but Maya could see that. Kane felt it was necessary. "Change is never easy," she told him that evening as they sat in Luna's Café. "But you've taken the first step. Now you need to prove that this new way can work." "I could not have done this without you," Kane said. "You showed me that there was another way to live, another way to lead." "You showed me that too," Maya said. "I spent years studying how different species could communicate better, but I never thought I'd get the chance to actually change how they relate to each other." The news of the New Geneva Treaty spread quickly across the galaxy. Some worlds were intrigued by the possibility of partnership instead of conquest. Others were skeptical, convinced it was a trick. But slowly, carefully, Kane began reaching out to other worlds in his empire. Maya's communication center became a hub for these negotiations. She developed new protocols for interspecies dialogue, trained translators in emotional as well as linguistic communication, and helped resolve conflicts that had been festering for years. Not every negotiation succeeded. Some worlds were too damaged by past conquests to trust any dragon lord. Others were attacked by rival fleets who saw Kane's new methods as an opportunity for expansion. But enough succeeded that the idea began to take hold. 6 months after the New Geneva Treaty, Maya and Kane sat in their usual booth at Luna's Café, now expanded to accommodate visitors from dozens of worlds. The café had become a symbol of the new approach, a place where different species could meet as equals. "Do you ever regret it?" Maya asked. "Giving up the old way of doing things?" Kane considered the question carefully. "I regret that it took me so long to see another path. I regret the suffering I caused before I learned to change. But I do not regret the change itself." "What do you think will happen next?" Maya asked. "I do not know," Kane said. "But for the first time in centuries, I am not afraid of the future. I've learned that unknown possibilities are better than known misery." Maya smiled and reached across the table to squeeze his massive hand. "I'm proud of you, my friend. You've become exactly who I always believed you could be. And you," Kane said, "have proven that the smallest act of kindness can change the course of history. You offered help to a stranger ordering coffee, and that simple gesture may have saved countless lives." Outside the café, ships from a dozen different worlds were docked at the New Geneva spaceport. Inside, delegates from those worlds were learning to understand each other's languages, cultures, and dreams. It was not perfect, and there were still conflicts and misunderstandings. But it was progress. Maya had always believed that all thinking beings had the same basic needs, regardless of what they looked like or where they came from. Now she was watching that belief reshape the galaxy, one conversation at a time. And at the center of it, all was an unlikely friendship between a blind human woman and a dragon lord who had learned that true strength came not from conquest, but from the courage to change. The future was uncertain, but it was full of possibilities that had never existed before. And that, Maya thought, was the most human thing of all, the ability to imagine a better world and then work to make it real.